What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at Data Dash, and today we have yet another interview on the Data Dash channel. I'm so happy to have two of the founders of a very interesting project I've been finding over the past few months. We've been looking at privacy coins in the cryptocurrency space, and this one is definitely one that I've been eyeing, and this is no other than ZCoin. And today I have Reuben and as well Poramin, who've been part of the project, and they're based out actually, you guys can tell a little bit about yourself and everything, talk about the project. I don't want to talk for you, so we've got a good list of questions we'll go through, and I'd really love them to kind of give a little bit of detail on what ZCoin's all about. But we'll start off with an introduction, and you guys can take it away. Glad to have you.
Okay, maybe just first of all, I'm not one of the founders.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just a community manager.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe Poramin, go ahead and start first.
Okay. So you want to change that or like later?
No, that's fine. Then just go ahead.
Okay. Just to introduce, I'm a founder of ZCoin and also lead developer. And what I have done before starting ZCoin is I study master degree in Johns Hopkins, and at that time I also interested in Bitcoin technology during like 2013, and at that time is like I'm also do like mining and do other thing until I think that maybe I should create the coin because I got interested in zero coin paper because at the same time one of professor in my school, which is Matthew Green, he released the paper about zero coin, and I think I want to implement zero coin as the one of I want to implement zero coin in one cryptocurrency. And at that time it's like I don't have knowledge about cryptocurrency that much, and I think the way that I need to know about it is to implement it, so that I create Bitcoin to learn internal mechanism of cryptocurrency, which is the code base is derived from Bitcoin, as you know that. And I also interested in ASICs resistant proof of works as well. So at the time I released a script PO proof of work, but changed internal parameter based on time. That is the first coin that I released, and that's why I create Bitcoin. And
so I think Bitcoin was one of actually the earliest, one of the earlier cryptocurrencies. I think it was probably, I think it was the first Qt-based cryptocurrency to actually implement stealth addresses, if I'm not mistaken. And I think also what you were doing is that you were saying that the script was like was adjusting by itself, so it's supposed to be difficult to develop ASICs or that. So I think it's actually quite interesting to see that a lot of these elements of privacy and ASIC resistance have carried over to the new project. So it's always been a focus of Poramin. Yeah, maybe you want to talk a bit about ZeroVert, your first attempt.
Sure. And I mean, like after I implementing Bitcoin, and I working with team. Team in Bitcoin for a while, and the team become bigger and bigger. And at that time, my first intention is I want to implement implement zero coin into Bitcoin at that time. Implement zero coin protocol into Bitcoin, and the result is majority of the team didn't agree with me because at that time zero coin protocol is still quite new, and people in my old team think that my Bitcoin team at the time think that hey, it's quite risky to implement zero coin protocol at that time, and we can implement step address in Bitcoin, and that is okay. I mean, and I even though I don't agree with them, but I get along with them, so that at the time I okay. I didn't implement zero coin protocol in Bitcoin, but still my intention want to implement zero coin, and for graduation as well, because that is my first intention to implement it. So I just create a zero word that even though I still working with Bitcoin, but I think better to create a new coin that using merge mining technology that can merge mining with Bitcoin while you still using zero coin protocol. So at the time I create this coin seed called zero word that is actually merged between zero coin technology name zero coin and Bitcoin, so that it's called zero word. That is the beginning of zero word. And the problem with zero words is that even though I implement it, basically I cannot open source it at that time, because as you know that when I implement, there is nothing called ICO at that time at all. And when I implement it, and even though I finish it, no one can audit my code actually, and I cannot even open source my code as well, because as you know that I don't get any fund, and I want to make zero word ahead of other competitor, which at that time there is Anon Coin that also working on implementing zero coin into their coin as well. So
was that Anon Coin?
Yes, it's called Anon Coin at that time. As you can see right now, there is I mean, Anon Coin is still there, but I'm not sure whether what is their progress, and I don't think they success on implementing it. So that that's why I chosen to code the source, and I released this project, and people complain a lot. Yeah, hey, why don't you open source code? No one gonna use it. And for zero word, I implementing following the original paper, and I find out later that there is a performance problem once your accumulated size is become bigger and bigger, and your spend transaction take long time to verification. And that's why I think that hey, maybe zero word cannot continue, because I cannot open source, and the performance is gonna be problem. And other than that is something that when no one can audit my code, that means is easily to do double spending at the time, because it's like, even though like no one gonna find out what is gonna inside, but even myself later I found out that hey, maybe this become a vulnerability that no one can do double spending. So that I think that maybe if I pursue this way is one word, so that I just stop this project and wait until I have like funding that can support me to open the source code and find. So that is the beginning of ZCoin.
I think one of the things that would be helpful, because I think a lot of people actually don't know what zero coin is, or they often confuse zero coin with zero cash and Zcash and ZCoin. And I think a lot of people, when they first come across ZCoin, they're like, oh crap, it's just another Zcash clone. And I think that's one of the very key things that we want to differentiate ourselves. So actually, like, yes, there was a zero coin paper, and then there was a zero cash paper, and I do believe they share, I think, many of the same authors for these papers themselves. So of course, the original authors of zero coin then moved on to zero cash, and now are part of the Zcash project. But they are very different cryptographic implementations. They both implement zero knowledge proofs, but they don't use the same cryptography. With ZeroCoin, actually, they use what we call RSA accumulators, which is actually, RSA technology, and encryption has been around for eons, so everyone knows RSA cryptography. While with Zcash, they actually use ZK snarks, which is actually, I think, very, very recent development. So they're using much more experimental cryptography in that regard. I think that's one of the key things. Despite like supply auditability, but I think it'll be also interesting for the viewers who have never heard about how the ZeroCoin achieve its anonymity to actually, there's this like mint spend and return. What does that mean? A lot of people think that it's like a proof of stake coin. No, it's not a proof of stake coin because of the minting. But so basically, how ZeroCoin works is by actually implementing a layer on top of the original Bitcoin core code, and what it allows you to do, because as you all are aware, Bitcoin, all your coins have a history that cannot be removed. It's permanently stored on the blockchain. So of course you can create new addresses and things like that, but there are ways to tie these addresses together and do analysis, because you aren't breaking the transaction flow. You always have ways to connect the dots. And what so there are like other implementations which try to mix your transaction with other people to sort of obfuscate it.
Yeah.
For example, Dash, and I think currently PayPax is doing a coin join. It's similar with, I think it's exactly the same as Dash as well. But you're limited by the size of how many people are mixing, and these people have to be online. So, and that's a problem, because that means like I need to find people online to mix with. And then I think with Dash implementation, they use the masternodes to do the mixing. And there's a certain degree of trust with the masternodes. You trust them not to log your information. And of course, Dash would say, well, we can do several rounds of this. But at the end of the day, you are still trusting a third party.
Yep.
It's not a horrible solution, but there are better ways to achieve it. What ZeroCoin does is actually you don't have to trust any sort of centralized mixer, and you don't even have to have masternodes implement ZeroCoin itself, but it actually is built into the protocol layer. And how it actually works is you take one of your coins and you basically destroy it, and that's what you call sort of ZeroCoin mint. So you are creating a ZeroCoin, you're minting it, you're just burning up an existing ZCoin and turning it into a ZeroCoin.
Okay.
So you have a base coin and a ZeroCoin. Now at any stage later, so basically this sort of proof that you burnt up was sort of like this mint transaction is published on the blockchain, so everyone knows there's been a mint transaction. And yes, your anonymity isn't quite there yet. It is only when you do the spend transaction. The spend transaction is when you convert the ZeroCoin back into ZCoin, basically the base coin. And what that does is that newly created coin has no history whatsoever. It looks like a freshly mined coin. So basically all your transaction history for that coin is gone.
Yeah, no, I was going to say real quick, sorry to interrupt you on there, but I think there's a very important factor with that. I was watching the ZeroCoin video that you all have on your website, and one of the interesting things they mentioned is a big concern with Bitcoin is you can make a transaction with people, but the problem is you don't know where that Bitcoin's coming from. If it's a transaction where it might be tied with money laundering, dark money, and in the case of ZeroCoin, you protect yourself from that. You're getting a fresh new coin that has no transaction history. So I absolutely see. I think that ZeroCoin has one of the best approaches with it. Whereas if you just cycle it around, if you just cycle it around with other people through multiple mixed transactions, that money is still there. So it's still out there. Yeah.
It's like I guess like with other sort of earlier mechanism, it's more like plausible deniability, like mixing with 3 other people, so it might be any one of us. So it's like there's it may not be me, but it's still possibly me, right? Because the more times you mix it, but the problem is that it's kind of cumbersome. And
Exactly.
If you've ever tried Dash, I mean, I'm actually one of the early adopters of Dash myself, and when I tried their private send function, well, at that time it was called dark send. It took a very long time to actually anonymize coins because you had to wait for people to come on to actually actively mix. And what actually happened was actually Dash had constant problems finding people to mix. I think they might have improved on that now. But what actually happened is they actually paid people to do active mixing. That means they just leave their wallets online to do mixing. They call them liquidity providers. It was actually a part of the budget from Dash that was actually dedicated to that. And I think that's a bit of a cumbersome type of mechanism. So because people are wondering, well, can't I tie the mint with the spend? And that's where the zero knowledge proofs come in. And how it works is that when I destroy the coin, I retain a proof. I can create a proof that I did destroy a coin, but that proof only proves that I destroyed the coin, but doesn't show which coin I destroyed. And that's sort of the crux of zero proof technology. I can prove something, and only by proving that I did it, but without any other data whatsoever. So I think that's like one of the biggest benefits of zero knowledge proofs, and I think it's not often emphasized. Like even like Monero, it's a different type of approach. So it's not obfuscation; it's actually total transaction breakage. So I think that's quite exciting. Yeah, maybe that's like an overview of ZeroCoin, of how it works.
No, I completely agree with you. I think, I've been kind of learning the privacy space over the past 2 months extensively, and zero proof to me has been the most kind of captivating, approach to it. I've seen, there are ones like Monero out there, and there's some that have interesting approaches, but zero proof itself seems like it's sufficient. I mean, if you can destroy the history of the coin previously, you have a sense of guaranteed anonymity to it, and then also how you spend it as well. So I think that it is very interesting. I think that the fact that ZeroCoin is focusing on zero proof knowledge, I think that's very important. So again, I think you all are on the right track with that, and it's cool to hear the the story that you all have with it as well, and how you got interested in it, and had the ZeroCoin. What was the paper that came out actually that it was based off of? I'm trying to remember correctly.
Well, I think it was called. What was it called? Poramin, was it like ZeroCoin?
ZeroCoin, and actually you can search that like.
Yeah, ZeroCoin, anonymous distributed e-cash from Bitcoin. That was the original paper that ZeroCoin was built on. And I think, the next question that people would ask is, well, since Zero Cash also uses zero knowledge proofs, and if you take a look at the official Zero Cash website, and even the zerocoin.org website, which is actually owned by the Zero Cash people, they actually mentioned that that kind of ZeroCoin is no longer developed, and now Zero Cash is the new thing that we should be using.
Yeah.
And I mean, fair enough. I mean, they have their own reasonings for that. So a lot of people are saying, well, you took this abandoned project, and why are you continuing with this sort of development of that? And I think maybe we can probably cover a bit of key differences between our implementations. And actually, definitely ZeroCoin. I think it was I guess maybe the first implementation of zero knowledge proofs in a cryptocurrency. And what Zero Cash actually does was supposed to improve a lot of the usability aspects of ZeroCoin. And I think we have to sort of cover some of the perceived weaknesses of ZeroCoin, which I think the first iteration of ZeroCoin, the ZeroCoin proofs, the spend proofs, took about, was it 40 kilobytes, Poramin? I think that was the first iteration, right? Was it 40
According
kilobytes?
to their spec, they said 40 kilobytes.
Yeah, and then later on, it was reduced to 25 kilobytes, and there was actually another paper after that that sort of downgraded the encryption to achieve, was it 10 kilobytes or something like that? Right.
Yes, they reduced the security rate level, and they give a reason that that is still enough.
Good enough. Yes.
Enough.
Cool.
And I think a lot of there was actually a lot of discussion because it was actually supposed to be a Bitcoin improvement. And of course, people within Bitcoin were like, hey, this size, 10 kilobytes, 25 kilobytes, 40 kilobytes is way too much to store on the blockchain. And I think that was one of the criticisms of, one of the major criticisms of ZeroCoin at that stage. And I guess that's one of the reasons why they developed Zero Cash, where the proof size, I think it's only 1 kilobyte. The Zcash proof sizes are only 1 kilobyte. So it's like, a huge decrease in proof sizes. And on top of that, first of all, like with ZeroCoin, you have to sort of break it down into fixed denominations, which is similar to Dash and Monero, where you have to break down the thing to indistinguishable fixed denominations, so you cannot tell one coin from the next.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but with Zero Cash, the way, because they hide the transaction values, you don't. There's no more fixed denomination that you need to burn. Like every coin that is minted in Zero Cash becomes a possible thing to possible mint.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that they also allow is that you can now send the anonymized, like the ZeroCoin equivalent in Zcash. I don't know what you call it. Yeah, Z addresses from. They can send funds to each other, while with ZeroCoin, you always have to convert it back to the base coin. So, of course, when you look at it like that, it seems like, wow, why are you using this inferior type of system to Zero Cash? Because arguably Zero Cash has a much smaller proof sizes. It's easier to use. You don't need to have this fixed denomination stuff, and you can transfer coins to each other without having to convert it back to a base coin. But they to achieve that, they actually had to take certain they had certain trade-offs. And I think one of the biggest ones is, we've been actually talking a lot about this, is the supply auditability, meaning that you can always audit at any time the total supply of coins that are existing, and that someone is not creating coins out of thin air. Because actually there was a bug in Bitcoin, I don't know, quite a few years back, where I think there was a buffer overflow bug where like billions of coins, how many coins was it, Poramin? Was it many coins?
It's a maximum of integer at that time, like so that as you know that in the variable in C++, there is the maximum value that can be, so that what they use, they try to do buffer overflow, and I mean integer overflow actually, that the money is become maximum number of integer. That at that time is about 4 million something.
Oh no, I just checked. The Bitcoin had a value overflow incident of 2 addresses received 92.2 billion Bitcoins each. Yeah, and so there was this huge sort of inflation, but because you could audit this, like you saw the supply, something was wrong.
Yeah.
They could detect it and reverse it. So it's not as if like this type of problems have not existed before, but it is even more important in a setup where you're using zero knowledge proofs, because now you actually have a mechanism built into the coin to generate coins.
Yeah.
Unlike in Bitcoin, basically your coins are generated through the mining process.
Exactly.
And so I think both like ZeroCoin and Zero Cash use something what we call a trusted setup. So a trusted setup is where you generate some initial parameters, and you have to destroy those parameters, because if you don't destroy them, people can forge coins. That means they can generate coins out of thin air.
Yep.
Yep. And so in ZeroCoin, you can still audit. You add it all up. You look at the mints and the spends, and you're like, does it still add up to what it should be? And you can always do that. So if whatever happens, like somebody leaks the trapdoor or there's a problem with that, you can always say, yes, there's a problem there, let's fix it.
Yeah.
It's still pretty bad, quite it's quite a bad problem, but at least you know that you can detect it. And the good thing also is that because even if you leak these initial parameters, your anonymity isn't broken, it's just the forgery part, which is also same with Zero Cash, in the sense that if you break those parameters, you can forge the Zcash, but you don't break the anonymity on that. But with Zcash, because the transactions amounts are hidden and the way it's constructed, so especially when you have a whole set of Z addresses where the balances are not able to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
If these coins, if there's a problem with their trusted setup, if there's a problem with their coding or any type of issues there, you can't detect it, and that's quite scary because bugs are always happen. I mean, even in Zcash, there was like multiple audits, many vulnerabilities came out, and that's all fine. I mean, these things happen, but it's just that you have a check to make sure that this isn't happening, so that you know that you can fix it. And I think that's really particularly important in a zero knowledge proof setup where you are generating new coins out of thin air, and also especially when you're doing a trusted setup.
Exactly. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I was going to say it's important too, because one of the nice things about ZCoin, it has a very limited supply as well, in the sense of, or at least the circulating supply. I think on CoinMarketCap it's saying it's at 2.9 million right now. So, I mean, I love the fact that it's a very low quantity coin, and at the same time you have those checks and balances to check and make sure that if a bug comes up, you'll know where to find it and where to fix it. So I think that's really awesome. Yep. The other thing I was going to ask you all, we talked a little about both you as well, and kind of ZCoin in general. How big is the team for ZCoin? I was just curious to see maybe the scale of the team, or maybe contributors to the Zero Coin protocol and everything like that. So I'd really like to learn a little bit more about that.
Poramin, you want to take that question?
Sure. I will focus on developer team first, and Reuben will cover on another pass. For developer, we as a lead developer that located is on Bangkok in Thailand, and we also do have one of developer located in Vietnam, and another developer called Eisen. He located in Germany, and right now we are having
Saran as well. Remember?
Yeah. I mean, like, we have another developer that came from Moscow, Russia as well, that begin working with us, and our team member that focusing on developing part, and background of each person, I can cover that. For me, I have interviewed myself before, and for Eisen, he is a PhD in machine learning, and he do stuff about like C++ and low level stuff. So what his specialist is on helping various C++ stuff as well. And for it's hard for me to pronounce his name, but usually we call him SN, and the guy that SN is the guy that located in Vietnam, and was his specialist. He has a lot of software developing experience. He also got into Engine Cup that is about software design for Microsoft, and Computer Olympics, that kind of stuff during his career. And right now he also helping us on a core update to form 2.8 to form 0.8 code base to 0.13 Bitcoin core code, and we're gonna release soon. And for the Russian guy, we have him on board just for a week, and basically he has a working experience in C++, 17 years, and he's gonna help us on implementing Sigma protocol that I think Reuben will cover in the talk later about Sigma protocol and distributed market as well.
Well, that's awesome.
There's
there's also two other developers which are a bit separate from core. So I guess there's Poramin, Eisen, SN, Saran that is helping you, and I forgot the Russian's name. He's so new. Sorry. Was it Peter?
Yes, his name is Peter.
You're right. And and we also actually on top of that also have DJM34. I think he's quite a well-known miner developer. I think he's developed a lot of binaries, I think for X11 and all this type of stuff. So he's actually a very recognized miner developer, and he's particularly important when we deal with MTP, which later we'll talk on. And we actually have a Solidity developer called Tyke from Ireland, and he's actually recently joined us full time to help us actually develop ZeroCoin on Ethereum. So I think that's really sort of an interesting side project. He doesn't actually deal with the core itself, but he's implementing like the ZeroCoin mixer on Ethereum, sort of. So I think that's a really interesting project. And eventually, we want to do atomic swaps with Ethereum, where you can sort of trade Ethereum with ZCoin in a decentralized manner. So I think that's quite a nice synergy there. And yeah, I think that's for the development team. And I think from the communications and community side, there's Reuben, there's me, and there's actually another guy that really joined us really early called Sebastian. And Sebastian is actually quite interesting because he's German, but I'm actually what we call banana, where I'm yellow on the outside and white on the inside. My Chinese isn't very good. I think Sebastian is an egg, where he's white on the outside and yellow on the inside. So he actually studied Mandarin in China, and
wow.
So he speaks Chinese very well. And his main job was, when we brought in our new investor team, he was to act as the sort of liaison with the Chinese community and to help sort of reach out with them. He's very, I guess it's a very good bridge, and he also helps to maintain all the relationships with the Chinese exchanges and QQ groups and all the other Chinese communities which cannot use Telegram or WhatsApp or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. You have the bridge there, yeah. Because I mean, it is with the difference in whatever countries you're trying to expand to. I know China, especially, you want to make sure that's where the eastern part of the world is, where the money is. And I think that's cool. He went out and he learned Mandarin, because Mandarin's the first language that I'm hoping to learn. I tried learning Spanish, but I was just like, it wasn't for me. I couldn't pick it up. But Mandarin, even though it is more difficult, I would love to, because I want to make a trip out to Asia, go see a lot of countries out there. And yeah, I mean, Mandarin is an awesome language to learn if you're going to China and stuff. So I think I'd definitely like to learn it. And that's a funny analogy. I like the analogy you built between you and the other guy in Germany. So I mean, I think that's awesome. You all have a global.
It's based in Thailand, although he's German.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, but it was just so cool. Like, I think that having that global community is very important with stuff like this, and it shows you cryptocurrencies kind of breaking that barrier down. It used to be very centralized projects in specific countries, and now it's this global community coming together over something like privacy. I think that's a really kind of motivational message as well. But I mean, it's really awesome to hear how you guys have been pretty successful with this so far, and you built up a global community around it.
So yeah, what else to cover on?
I was thinking that the one thing I was going to ask as well was kind of like long-term objectives. What do you see kind of, for example, there's like ZCoin's been around for a decent amount of time, but, kind of in the long-term span, next 5 or 10 years, what do you all see ZCoin really being outside of just, a privacy coin? It might be a global currency for privacy and stuff, but, what really is the final kind of like overall objective of ZCoin as a whole, the philosophical kind of view?
I mean, right now, of course, we don't know many years down the road. Right now, the focus is still, which is really occupying all our time right now, is to improve the ZeroCoin protocol. And a lot of people think that, ZeroCoin, it's dead, it's abandoned, there's no new developments on it. And that's really simply not true. I think that also sets us apart from the competitions, that we're not just going to implement the ZeroCoin protocol as it was first written in the paper. We actually seek to develop and build upon it. And I think a lot of like the so-called perceived problems with ZeroCoin, for example, the large proof sizes, the trusted setup. The trusted setup is a big thing because a lot of people are like, they bang us on it. Now I think uh, I don't know, it's slightly going off topic, but I do
Yeah.
think it's important to cover the trusted setup issue. So, like, I think most people have heard about the Zcash ceremony where they involve 6 people, and it's sort of like a multi-party setup where, as long as they did not collude with each other, the parameters should, if the protocol works correctly, should be destroyed, and none of them actually have that secret. Now, of course, some people, well, I'm not a cryptographer. I don't know how good that thing is. And I trust that it should be correct, right? But there's still that element of like, I don't trust them. I don't trust these people to actually say that they've actually destroyed it, and who knows whether that setup was correct.
Yeah.
But what ZeroCoin's our current setup right now was actually taking parameters from a 1991 from a RSA factoring challenge, where it was actually a competition organized by RSA back when it was still not corrupted. Sorry, RSA. But because there was a whole sort of drama where NSA came in with RSA, but this was way back when RSA was the one that was like exposing government, like the Clipper chip, where they install all these things. So it was actually a really good organization then, and it was an academic challenge to say how hard it is to factor numbers, and which is the basic premise of RSA cryptography. And there was actually a $200,000 bounty on RSA 2048, which is what we are using to break that encryption. And they did do certain steps to make sure that those parameters were destroyed. So I guess, yes, maybe say, how do I know that RSA truly actually did what they said they did? But the key thing is that you don't have to trust us, the developers, right? I mean, because we definitely don't know, right? And the other thing is, because of we have a supply auditability, so if there's a problem, you can detect it. And on top of that, what is that? It's like it has had a $200,000 bounty for such a long time. No one has claimed it. It's already been discontinued, but it was up for many, many years. But no one has claimed it, so there's a good chance that it's secure.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we are developing is there's actually something called Sigma protocol, which is actually a way to remove trusted setup altogether. You still can have your ZeroCoin setup, but you don't remove the trusted setup requirement. And there's actually a paper, and there's some actually like libraries actually sort of waiting for us to use. And another good thing is that it actually brings down proof sizes really small. I think our initial estimate was about 1 kilobyte. So it becomes kind of very competitive with Zcash as well, in that regard. Now we're still sort of evaluating like the performance sort of trade-offs to allow it. But the fact is that ZeroCoin development isn't at a standstill. And there's actually, we actually recently came across another paper actually called Extended ZeroCoin, which got us really excited. We haven't looked into too much detail, so we haven't actually made any public announcement on this. Probably this will be the first one.
Awesome. Well, that's sweet.
Extended ZeroCoin actually allows many of the advantages of Zcash. That means you have your hidden amounts, you have your no more fixed denominations, you can send to each other, but we're still really making sure that does it retain supply auditability, is it worth the trade-off? So we are still exploring that, and we're still at the brainstorming stage for that. And what we're thinking is that we may even offer several types of accumulator schemes depending on what you want. You want to use the original ZeroCoin, you want to use maybe the Sigma protocol version. We're still thinking about it, but I guess the idea is that ZeroCoin development is not at a standstill, and I think it would be sort of, well, it's not, we shouldn't just simply abandon a technology just because some people say that it's abandoned anymore. There's still a body of research.
I want to add more, like even with current 0.0 level, we already fixed something, because our crypto advisor Tim Ruffin, he found some vulnerability inside as well, so that right now we actually improved the original with 0.0 that Matthew Green and Ian Meyer creating it at that time, so that it's not just like use their library and implementing it, but we also fixing it and improving as well.
Okay, cool.
So Lib Zero Coin is the software, the sort of like the proof of concept software library of Zero Coin, and I mean it's still a lot of work from this library to actually implement it. It's a lot of work involved. But the original Lib Zero Coin was coded by the guys that are now at Zero Cash, and we actually sort of finding a lot of ways to improve it, and also certain vulnerabilities inside. We actually already have the code ready. But we have it implemented on the old core when we're transitioning to the new core. So we hope to get this fixes in, and that means all coins that use Zero Coin as a base would benefit from these improvements.
Awesome.
So I think that's like, we're really pushing, not only pushing like new technologies with Zero Coin, but also improving the implementation to make it more secure for everybody. I think that's really good. Back to the long-term goal. I think the other thing was that what we wanted to continue addressing. So like, I think if you've taken a look at our roadmap, there's a lot of ideas of like decentralization, not only on the mining perspective, but like on marketplaces, on voting systems, and things like this can be like Zero Coin can be used as a sort of like a voting system as well. So I think the whole idea is that we want to be free, we want financial privacy, and maybe a lot of people talk about smart contracts, but I do think that space is really crowded. And at the end of the day, we are here to create a currency that is free and decentralized. And yes, we may have some applications on top of it, like we may have a decentralized marketplace, we may have a decentralized type of voting system where you can use ZCoin for that. But I don't think we're going to build like some sort of smart contract type of system.
I completely agree with you on that. And the implementation of smart contracts, it's kind of become like a buzzword, kind of like how machine learning is a buzzword for like Silicon Valley and stuff like that. There's all this talk of like smart contracts, you need it. I'll tell you, the thing
the sexy thing now.
It is, yes, it is kind of the sexy topic right now. And the thing is with smart contracts is, yes, you can apply it to so many things and they are very powerful, but that's more on the applicational side of blockchain technology and building applications. In this case, if you just want to build a really nice private currency that you can guarantee is going to give you a sense of anonymity, make sure that you're getting secure money that has no previous transaction history, and something, for example, you were mentioning how you can mix it with Ethereum and transact in between Ethereum. So if you can get those implementations in, I mean, your objective is completely fine. Building a private transferable currency between individuals over decentralized applications. So I think it's fantastic. I really think that you have something going here. I'm so happy to see that you guys really have a working piece of technology going. And then also, where there's a lot of naysayers saying that you guys aren't working on it, I'm glad you're pushing through it. You're ignoring them and you're continuing to work on it. It really seems like a cool project.
And I think one of the things that a lot of anonymity coins have issues with is conversion to fiat, because like especially with regulated currencies where now a lot of the exchanges are like, so oh, you're anonymous coin, we're not going to right? Well, and I think even like Monero is having such a big project, established project like Monero is only very recently getting on some big exchanges.
Yeah.
But even then, once the regulated exchanges come up, it's a big question mark of how Monero will get those fiat gateways as well. And I think this is why it's really important to talk about cross-chain interoperability, whereby we can convert the Ethereum, we can convert the Bitcoin in a sort of decentralized manner. Because as long as cryptocurrencies, like we can use Bitcoin's fiat gateways, we can use Ethereum's fiat gateways, they will have their fiat gateways, and it'll be much easier for them to do that. While, so we can easily have a decentralized way to convert those coins, and you can then convert it into your fiat money.
Exactly.
And of course, people are saying, well, doesn't that break anonymity? Well, I think you have to accept that if you're going to convert it back to fiat,
you're getting out of that privacy zone. There's a privacy bubble that's formed with ZCoin, but once you step out of it, you got to play by the rules, So yeah, yeah.
I mean, sure, there are of course other ways like P2P, sort of like local Bitcoin stuff.
Yeah.
I mean that's a possibility. Decentralized exchanges are also something we're really excited.
That will be interesting.
And obviously, like right now, if you take a look at the existing decentralized exchanges out there, they're not very well, they work, but they're not really fun to use.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And that's hurting adoption. But eventually, hopefully, when things do pick up and people see the problems that centralized exchanges are having, like, I mean, even now, like Poloniex is a big question mark right now, right? And the whole issues of like governments cracking down and exchanges, I think they may be a tipping point whereby, crap, we do have to use decentralized exchanges, and that's when ZeroCoin, which is hopefully once we implement our atomic swaps and all those things, we can then go into like we don't have to worry too much about our fiat gateways, because I know Dash has sort of like gone off. I think they've not so much focused on the privacy aspect right now. I think they've actually more of like, oh, you want basic privacy, yes, you can use Dash, but now they even have a partnership with a AML KYC company or CoinFirm.
Yeah.
And they're sort of like monitoring the blockchain and
yeah, they're kind of they've dived away from it.
Privacy.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's fine. That's one way to achieve it, and I mean that's just a different view of how things should be achieved. But I guess that's one of the long-term goals. And I think one of the things that we're also talking about is, well, decentralization. You have to have a decentralized proof of work system, right? Because I think this is a big problem with many currencies right now. Like, Bitcoin, we don't even say. Look at all these miners in China dominating all the hash rate.
Yeah.
Or similarly with Dash right now, where X11 was supposed to be ASIC resistant. I mean, you can't blame them. That's what the technology was then, where they chained a bunch of hashing algorithms together and said, yes, this is ASIC resistant. And now, Bitmain has a freaking ASIC for Dash, right? And script, as well. So I guess like the whole idea is that it's once you reach a certain point, of market cap, and it becomes easier to develop. I mean, it becomes more economical to develop and specialized machines for that. So we have to have a proof of work mechanism that makes it really, 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 really hard, while not sacrificing on performance. Like, there are a lot of so-called ASIC resistant algorithms out there, and a lot of times they're only ASIC resistant to the point until they hit a market cap that's really big, that is worth developing an ASIC for, right? So you can't test that. But so this thing we call Merkatry proof of work algorithm is we call it MPP. It's actually done by the same authors that did Equihash for Zcash.
Okay.
And they said that, look, Equihash is not bad. It's quite a good algorithm, but we feel that for really long-term sort of ASIC resistance, we have to make sure that the miners use as much memory as possible. So I think script, which was supposed to be like memory hard, only uses 128 kilobytes of RAM, which is insignificant, and that's why you have script miners now. X11 doesn't use any memory. And even like something like Kryptonite used by Monero uses about 2 megabytes. All these are like quite insignificant amounts. Now let's talk about MTP, which the reference implementation uses 2 gigabytes and can even go up to 10 gigabytes or more, right? So suddenly it's like, wow, are you really going to fit 10 gigabytes on an ASIC?
Exactly.
And then you'd be limited by the thing. Now, I think like one of the issues with large memory type of mining schemes last time was that if you had a really huge requirement for miners to use memory, nodes that verify that proof of work need that memory as well, which is going to be a real problem. Are you going to have nodes with 10 gigabytes of RAM? Probably not, and it's going to be a real pain. So MTP allows the mining work to be really hard, while the verifiers only need a very small fraction of the RAM to actually verify it. So the verifiers have very easy work, but the miners have a very hard work. And I think that's really interesting. That means that if we assume that this assumption that developing ASICs is going to be hard with large amounts of memory, not just because of cost, but because of the memory latency, where you are constrained by the interaction between the memory and the computing, because you can optimize computing processes very quickly. If you're only doing one thing, just you just get the ASIC to develop that part. But if the majority of your algorithm is filling up that memory and interacting with that memory, you still need, you are bound by that memory's delay.
Yeah.
So it's not just because of cost, but it's also because of interaction with the memory that make it ASIC resistant. And I guess like MTP actually allows large amounts of memory to be used while keeping the verifiers really, really lightweight, so that it actually improves decentralization as well.
Awesome.
So I think that's one of the things that we're really developing right now. We actually have it running on testnet at the moment. And we actually launched a bounty of $10,000 for the MTP, and also $2,500 for the sort of implementation bounty. That means whether the implementation correct, or the $10,000 was whether the paper itself is correct. And we actually have very good submissions. They are bounty claims, and they are valid ones. And it's actually spurred for the MTP's original authors to look at it. And all this so far, all the sort of like vulnerabilities found, there are fixes for them, but they're just thinking, what's the best way to do it?
Yeah.
Is this really, when we're fixing it, is this going to open another type of issue? And right now, I think the researchers have begun revising the MTP paper. And we feel that, yes, although we actually can technically launch MTP now, but then given the disclosed vulnerabilities, the optimizations, we think, well, we're not in a hurry. We're still quite a small coin. Let's just stick with the current algorithm first. And then when they come out with their revised paper, let's do it. But we're already ready to take advantage of all those things, because I don't think it's going to be vastly different. It's still going to be MTP. Maybe some parameter change, maybe some additional checks. So I think that's something that actually Poramin and his team coded from scratch. Like, we didn't even have a software library to build from. It was just a freaking academic paper that we had to do, and it was definitely not easy. Because we were actually scolding Poramin, like, why do you keep on picking all the difficult tasks? Do some easy things like a wallet so fancy.
Yeah, exactly. No, I have to say though, I like that you all are eager to push it out. I see so many stuff in the cryptocurrency space that's so eager to push out new tech. We've got this new feature, new way of mining. I mean, honestly, I think that's good. Do it right the first time. You're on a perfect mindset, and Poramin, I think, is pushing you because he wants to make it as good as possible. I like that you guys are set on that. That's really good.
We need some easy wins though.
Well, anyways, I gotta say, everyone, I do have to cut off the interview, but I want to say it has been, Reuben and Poramin, it was so nice having you all. Like I said, I'm optimistic on ZCoin. It was really nice talking with you all and kind of hearing the journey that you guys have had with it, and also what you're still doing as well, because I think that's good to kind of clear the smoke if there was anyone out there that thought you guys weren't working on it. So I think you all did a very good job answering the questions. I really appreciate having you on. And is there anything, before we end the interview, would you want to leave some documents maybe down in the description, like a link or something? Maybe.
Sure. I mean, I'll leave that at the link. One of the questions I think that you did ask that I maybe just want to touch very quickly, because ZeroCoin is seen as one of our major sort of developments, right?
Yeah.
And PivX, I think if they are developing their own ZeroCoin implementation, and we think actually that's a good thing, because first of all, they say they're not going to be using our code base, so that's interesting. We would like to see that, and hopefully once they release, we can see their code base. But it's always good to have multiple implementations. But I do think that the differentiators that, look, we are not just sticking with ZeroCoin, we're pushing past that. And I think on top of that, I do think that there's certain questions that make me a bit worried about PivX, because I think when they were first actually sort of promoting ZeroCoin, they were actually talking about compulsory minting, making them instant. And actually that, we don't know how that is possible with the current ZeroCoin scheme, because it would just really clog up the network with the verification. We did ask that, they said they solved it, so we're really interested to see what they have as well. But the other thing that was very concerning was when we were talking, we actually posted an article on Steemit on certain things about on our developments, and PivX came in and said, hey, we're developing ZeroCoin too, but they don't agree with us on what happens if the initial parameters are broken. We are saying that forgery happens, but anonymity is not broken. They are saying the other way around, which is very confusing because, you know, we've checked with cryptographers, this has always been the case, and we just worry, like, do you guys really understand what you guys are doing? We hope they do, or maybe they have some other implementation that isn't ZeroCoin, but I do think it's like, it's a very basic thing, you know, for those sort of questions. So yeah, you know, we actually welcome them to develop ZeroCoin, and we're actually really looking for, they have actually developed a really nice graphical interface. When we saw it, like, wow, that's really nice.
Yeah.
And I do think that, you know, independent development of the same technology is good. But yeah, you know, we have some concerns, and I don't think we should just say, oh, you know, they're going to implement ZeroCoin, you guys are obsolete, because we have a lot of other things in the pipeline. So,
seriously, I can't wait to see what you... Yeah, no, well, yeah, if you want to, like I said, if you have any links and stuff, I'll put them down below and stuff so people can continue to read up on it. But I think you all got something really going here. I think it's going to be cool. I just like seeing growth in the privacy space. That's going to be a topic that's going to continue to grow. It was kind of the forefront of what got cryptocurrency where it is, but it lost its pace because in the news headlines, it was always the price of Bitcoin's going up, you know, and it kept on talking about it, and then we got Ethereum as well. Yeah, what's up, Poramin? Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us on. I really appreciate it. It's a great honor to have us. We all woke up early for you.
No, I appreciate it. You know, making time for that. I understand. Like I said, I have people I talk to all over the world and stuff, and I think it's cool at the same time. But it's hard to get people on at the same time, and you know, this kind of global community and stuff. And the fact that you all have a team like that that's all over the place, and you manage to really do all this, I mean, that really does impresses me. So I appreciate having you all on. I can't wait to see where it goes. But anyways, I guess that'll be it for the interview. But if you all want to find more, please check down below in the description. I'll have some links there, most likely, on ZCoin. I'll have the website link as well as some details if you want to learn a little bit more. But I guess that's it for the interview. Reuben, Poramin, thank you all so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. It's been really great.
Thank you so much.